Have you ever tried to learn something new from the internet? It's like trying to drink from a fire hose, right? The 2.5% rule can help you learn much faster and tame that fire hose. You've probably heard of the 80-20 rule that 80% of the results in any endeavor come from 20% of the effort. Years ago, I read a book by Timothy Ferriss called The 4 Hour Workweek. He followed that up with The 4 Hour Body and The 4 Hour Chef. He calls himself a meta learner, meaning his specialty is learning how to learn a skill really fast. In fact, he teaches that if you learn 2.5% of the building blocks of a skill in the right order from an expert in that skill, you will have 85% of the value of that skill, or in other words, you will be in the 85th percentile of all the practitioners of that skill. The example I remember from his books is that the Spanish language has approximately 500,000 words in its vocabulary. But if you learn the right 1,200 words, 1,200, you'll be able to understand 85% of conversational Spanish. That's 2.5% of the vocabulary. I have experienced the truth of the 2.5% rule in my own life. I call it guided mentoring. After I spent several months learning SharePoint development through a combination of trial and error, searching the internet, and professional in person training, I had a friend tell me he wanted to create an online lending library for a group he belonged to. His .NET programmer friends suggested he learn how to program and use .NET for the online library. They told him he could, after he learned .NET, he could do it in about 6 months. I spent 2 or 3 hours showing him how to use SharePoint, teaching him the basic building blocks, and he built an amazing lending library in less than 3 weeks. He did come back for a second session with me to brainstorm some advanced things he wanted to do, but mostly he learned everything else he needed on his own through experimentation or online research. He went on to get a full-time job as a SharePoint developer with a large international organization and runs circles around me as a SharePoint developer. The beauty of the 2.5% rule is that once you know the basic building blocks, now you can pretty much learn the advanced skills from the internet. You have tamed the fire hose. That's my goal for this channel, to learn from experts the 2.5% of the building blocks of building a successful online business quickly, and then share them with you through guided mentoring so that you don't have to try and drink from the fire hose and can have the success you want much more quickly. Work hard on the journey.